So you've recently also started playing the PRS amplifiers.
Yeah.
Are there particular models that you're using, or what drew you to those?
Well, what drew them to me is the main thing was, again, I saw the opportunity to work with Doug Sewell, who's the designer. And so in the same way I was able to come to get this guitar, work and build my dream guitar, I was like, wow, I'm going to be, this is an opportunity for me to be really involved in the development of some of these amplifiers. And it's not like I'm there with schematics and can read schematics, but that Doug would bring amps they were developing to me, and we would compare them to like the best vintage amps that I had, and I would make suggestions, and he would come back. And also their whole philosophy about each amp is a single channel amp, which I firmly believe is the way to go, where for me, channel switching amps had always been a compromise. The clean channel never sounded just perfect, and the overdrive channel was not perfect.
Right.
And so I choose to, I like an amp that will break up a little bit if I play really hard with the volume all the way up. When I turn the volume down, it's clean. And then for solos, I use a clean boost or maybe a Klon overdrive or something like that.
Right.
And that was the philosophy they were going for. And so they've got this range of amplifiers that starts with a 16-watt 2.6 V6 amp to a 30-watt 4-yield 84 amp, which really covers the AC30 kind of thing.
Right.
The anniversary amp is more like, to my ears, it's more like a late 60s Marshall sort of vibe. They have an amp called the Super Dallas, which is, to me, is a hybrid between like a Super Reverb and a late 60s Marshall. And then they have a more of a high gain amp called the Signature, Paul Reed Smith Signature.
Right.
And never in my life have I used a high gain amp and liked it. And I'm like, I'm working on a new CD, and I'm finding I'm using this amp on a lot of stuff because it's a high gain amp with a lot of low end. And usually when you get to the high gain things, they cut out all the low end so that you have this. It's nothing but mid range to get that nasally overdrive thing.
Right. Yeah. When I've heard that amp, it's a big sounding amp. But even with all the gain, it doesn't get fuzzy and fizzy on the top.
No, man, it's really organic. And I was just doing this demo in there, and I was like playing some stuff, just for fun, like early ZZ Top stuff, and it was nailing all those tones.
Yeah, it sounded great.
And so, again, I've been so lucky to be able to be a part of having input into the amps, and working with Doug, who's super responsive to, and we have a great rapport. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but he and I are working on an amp from the ground up.
Awesome.
That we'll see if it happens. I mean, honestly, I'm so pleased with the way the amps are now, and they've gone through a couple of revisions, and I think the latest revisions are big. I mean, they really have kind of reached a whole nother level of musicality, and it's going to take whatever we come up with is going to take a lot, because I'm really pleased with what they've got now. And, if I can go into a little bitty club and take the Sweet 16 and turn it up, and that's the thing for me is I like to be able to make an amp breathe and work. So instead of using a master volume and turning it all the way down, and everything, which sounds a little artificial to me. It's like to be able to take a 16-watt amp in, or a 30-watt amp, or a 45-watt amp, or a 50-watt amp, depending on the size of the room.
Right.
It's been really cool.
So you turn the master volume up. And
I run the master volumes all the way up, which takes it out of the circuit. Now I realize that in certain clubs, certain people, you can't do that all the time.
Right.
But that's the way I do it.
Right, but you're not driving it real hard from the preamp gain in the amplifier.
I'm not, but when the master's all the way up, you're getting the output
tube.
stage distortion, which is the most musical distortion, which is what we grew up listening to before there was master volume.
Right.
Again, the Allman Brothers, the Who, Led Zeppelin.
Right.
All the great blues tones.
Right.
B.B. King live at the Regal. Early Albert King stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely a different texture to the distortion.
And to me, it's more natural.
Right.
More pleasing.
Right. David, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
My
really
pleasure.
Enjoyed talking with you.
Thanks for having
and for
me.
coming to play with us, or play for us rather, and to
My
be here at GearFest. We appreciate it.
Cool.
I'm Mitch Gallagher. Thanks for joining me for the Sweetwater Minute.
you.